name is Robert Coleman. I'm the porter of a residential block of flats near Hyde Park in London, and my special interest is old tube maps of London, old maps of London in general. I would say the first thing that sparked my interest was near where I grew up. When my dad used to take me and my two sisters to visit our grandparents, we would have to pass these brick ruins. I remember asking him early on what they were and why were they like that. And he told us, or he told me, because my two sisters weren't interested, he told me that they were the only remains of a line that was supposed to go from Edgware Station to Bushey Heath, which is actually where I grew up. So I knew very early on that there was no tube station in Bushey Heath. So the idea that there could have been a tube station in Bushey Heath fascinated me. And that kind of fascination just, I never outgrew. Of course, the interest with disused stations or lines that never made it or were later abolished, that fascination grew, not just to Bushey Heath and Edgware, but to all over London, and I became aware of these stations that had fallen out of use, that were now disused. I think 2 years ago, maybe less than 2 years ago, but 2 years ago, I went to a guided tour run by TfL to Down Street Station. During the war, the Second World War, when it was already disused, it had a very important role as being where the Central Railway Executive was, which, to make a long story short, was basically the committee that decided what trains went to where and at what times during the war. So it was a very strategic, important committee that actually lived round the clock in that station. I have bought the occasional book over the years. Whether I read them or not, I don't think I do. I certainly look at the pictures and the maps, and yeah, just looking at these maps as I used to do with atlases of countries when I was young. I used to love just looking at maps. I've got a couple of old tube maps which are actually from the period, which I'll very happily show you. I've also got a book, like a pre-A to Z atlas book of London. It's very fragile and delicate, but I think it's from 1920 or 1921, so it's still, you know, nice to leaf through and see what's remained and what hasn't made it to the present day. I don't think any of them are really rare, because I think the maximum I paid for any map was £60 that I paid for that atlas book. It was about, I can't remember what I paid for it. I think it was either £55 or £60. So with that kind of money, it's not going to be super rare. But I think my most precious one is the tube map of 1947 or 1948, which includes this extension, the Bushey Heath extension that never was. I think it was only during that year that the tube maps had this, because the year after, the project was scrapped. So they didn't include it in any more tube maps thereafter. I wouldn't say that I have any specific memories of any disused station, but there's always been a kind of romance in my imagination of lost languages, disused stations, lost lines. What I see, or what I was interested in, what fascinated me, was a portal into this lost world. This really, if a psychologist or an analyst was to look at it, they might say that I'm always looking for some lost cause, or I don't know, they could say that this is a sign of never being satisfied. I'm always chasing some rainbow or something. I don't know what they would make of it, but it really does run very deep with me for a very long time.